Let's make a start now. So today we are looking at a new unit, which is primarily going to be Introduction to Emerging Technologies. So this is a place where we are going to be discussing, lots of new, I would say, technologies which are coming in now. Just give me 1 second. Let me grab a glass of water.
Sure.
Right. So this is one of my favorite units. The reason I say this is because there's lots to discuss and lots to read. Specifically, if you're a technology enthusiast and you like, obviously reading and keeping yourself up to date with new developments which are happening in the technological sector. Nowadays, obviously, if you see everybody's talking about AI, and in general,
Yeah.
a lot of other technologies or useful, I would say, end user useful applications which are coming out of it through the AI is currently being discussed about. And obviously, there are 2 or 3 big companies which are always in the news. One is OpenAI, ChatGPT in general, and the other is DeepSeek, which is the Chinese competitor, which is very similar to what OpenAI does. Now, there are lots and lots of different types of applications and engines which have come out of it because OpenAI has made available the SDK and they are using the core engine or the function of the software development kit to be able to develop a lot of new applications like agents which can do some of the jobs and automate or help in the workflow and automation of some of these jobs. Now, along
Yeah.
with that, we also see lots of different other types of technology emerging. If I look at, in general, IT as a field, we know robotics is making a lot of big strides. MIT in the US and some of the other institutions are, obviously working in a big way in robotics in Japan and China, and obviously in countries like US in particular, because they are looking at the deployment of robotics in general in very many different types of applications. Now, apart from that, we also see if we are to go back and we do talk about, say, for example, emergence of technologies, there are lots and lots of different types of technologies which are coming in. And these technologies, include not just technologies in the IT field, but in the telecommunication field, in the Wi-Fi area. So if I look at telecommunication in particular, we are all used to 5G networks, but there is 6G and 7G also now in the development. 6G and 7G are under testing in Japan as a network, telecommunication network. We do talk about other types of technologies which are being discussed. So if I look at technology in general, if you look at automobiles, there is development in technology in terms of obviously a couple of years back we had hybrid. Now we have the EVs or electric vehicles, but there is a new type of development wherein some companies like BMW, Toyota have also developed it is called the hydrogen engine. That means it will just use water and convert water into hydrogen and split water into hydrogen and oxygen, and that itself, the fission part of it, would be able to drive automobile. So there's a major shift which is happening by 2027 towards that direction. So when we look at technology, there could be lots of different types of technology which are emerging, but these technologies can be in various different sectors as well. So there could be innovations in the engineering field, medicine field. You look at construction sector, you look at robotics, you look at IT, you look at cybersecurity, you look at artificial intelligence. So it's a very vast topic. Now, our aim of studying this topic under the umbrella of Introduction to Emerging Technologies is primarily looking at, IT and computing in particular, because we are studying the IT course. So our main aim is to essentially look at here talking about any sort of technology which is emerging within the information technology, computing, and in particular, computing related, sector. Now, when we do
Yeah.
talk about the term emerging technologies, we are often referring to new types of innovation and technologies which are currently being developed, and some of them are replacing the older ones because they are more efficient, more productive, much faster. So if I talk about speed trains, for example, we have the magnetic lev trains, which were introduced a decade back in Japan. Now we know that there are bullet trains, and some of them use that technology, which is magnetic levitation. So the train tracks are slightly raised, and because of the generation of magnetic field, it pushes the train forward and it reduces friction, and that is where trains can achieve, speeds as high as 600 kilometers per hour in terms of travel. Now, these technologies, when we talk about magnetic levitation, is actually replacing technologies like the diesel engine, the coal-powered trains, and even in some cases electric trains. So it's a vast area. When we talk about emerging, that means something which is already in existence, a better version of it is coming out, and that would be replacing the new, would be replacing the old one. Now, there is another term that we do come across, which is called the Internet of Things. I don't know whether you've come across the term called
Y-
IoT.
Yeah,
Now,
I know.
you know, so that's great. So IoT is anything related to web or connectivity, anything which basically is able to physically and connect to the internet or e-commerce, and obviously has sensors, software, and connectivity embedded into it. Now, today, when we talk about washing machines, fridges, we talk about our vacuum cleaners, we talk about TVs, smart TVs, they're all part and parcel of what is called the Internet of Things, because they are, or they form a part of a bigger network, which essentially allows them to interact with the internet and other equipments or other types of technologies which human race is essentially using for increasing productivity and efficiency. So when we do talk about the Internet of Things or IoT, the devices are equipped essentially with sensors, and they can capture data from the environment, which is when communicated through the internet or over the internet, it can lead to automating some of the actions. Now, one of the things that I can look at talking about in terms of IoT is that we have got a refrigerator at home. We've got a robotic vacuum cleaner, which I can use my phone here, and I can essentially be using my phone, switch on remotely because it is connected to the internet. I can describe or draw out an area in the area in which they will essentially go in and do, for example, do the household chores. And in such cases,
Tasks, yeah.
yeah, and in such cases, these devices would essentially be having combinations of what I would call is sensors and technologies which allow them to connect to the internet, and through the internet, I can, ask them to do various kind of functions at home. Now, we see these smart technologies being a part of our home today because we talk about things like smart meters, we talk about thermostats, security systems, CCTV cameras, we talk about smart watches and fitness trackers. So I'm wearing the Apple iWatch, and obviously it's able to measure your blood pressure, your heart rate, your oxygen rate, and lots of other types of measurements, including ECG and stuff. And these are devices which have sensors and can collect data from the physical environment of the world, and then that data can be transmitted over the internet or the some sort of a network to be able to make use of data or information which is being generated from these devices. Now, that would be the remit of what we would want to study in this particular unit. So this unit would look at helping you gain a bit of knowledge in terms of understanding what are the latest devices, technologies emerging, how these emerging technologies and devices, would be useful for us in the future. And while doing so, we will be looking at doing also a bit of research in terms of understanding and doing a bit of reading to see what are the new technologies which are emerging, which would be making a difference in obviously in the coming years. Now,
Yeah.
there are five.
There's
Yeah, go on.
yeah. There is a new technology emerging. I don't know if of course, you heard about it. This the Neuralink,
Yes,
which is developed by Elon Musk.
yes,
The chip, yeah,
yes,
is this is also part of an emerging technologies in today's world.
correct. So bits and pieces. There are loads and loads of development which are happening in this particular area. And
Yeah.
his company, which is primarily Neuralink, is pioneer trying to, at least, I would say they are trying to pioneer the connection between the brain and the technology. So he's talking about things that we have seen in our childhood days. At least I've seen, when we talk about Star Trek and those kind of TV series, you would probably have implants and other bits connected to your brain, which would allow
Yeah.
more processing and faster processing to happen through your brain, and that is what obviously Neuralink as his company is trying to do. Now,
Yeah.
uh, again, I would primarily say that when I look at just Elon Musk, he's also looking at, one of his companies, a boring company, which is trying to create, you know, instead of solving traffic problems on the ground, he's trying to go in under the earth and obviously look at connecting networks or connecting tunnels, and that is being done through that. There was some, um, you know, tests which were done by Virgin as well, because Richard Branson was essentially looking at introducing the Hyperloop, which is obviously another alternative way of travel. And there are these companies, pioneers, innovators who are trying to solve problems by creating innovative solutions. And some of that we will get to cover and look at in the unit. So there are five learning
Yeah.
outcomes. Learning outcome one, two, three, four, and five. They're all theoretical. There is one particular outcome in learning outcome four, wherein you would need to do a bit of research to come up with how. So let me rephrase it. When I say research, you have to look at doing a bit of reading and finding out about these new emerging technologies and how these technologies can help essentially in the development of IT and computing, and how it can help
Yeah.
humans in particular, do or create applications which will help in automating and increasing productivity. So that's the only learning outcome, which is, I would say, a bit theoretical, but here the idea would be to try and do and produce a work which will be on a specific topic of your interest, and there would be some tasks which will be there in the assignment that will relate to it. But in general, five learning outcomes covering five aspects of it. One, looking into future emerging technologies, specifically in the digital world. Second one would be looking at understanding artificial intelligence. The third one is primarily focused on understanding what are the implications of these development. What, say, for example, one thing is first, that yes, Elon Musk and his company SpaceX are producing rockets or boosters which are reusable, and obviously they will allow us to travel further in space. That is one aspect of it. But what is it that we are going to be able to accomplish if we are able to travel faster in space and go further in space? How would it help the human species? So the learning outcome three in general would be focused on understanding how these technology and developments in technology are going to help the human race, or essentially help us in increasing productivity and efficiency. The fourth one is going to be focused on, picking up an area of interest and researching it. I would say researching it primarily to, say, for example, my interest currently is on the language learning model. And in such cases, I am doing a lot of reading, looking at a lot of courses, and trialing out a lot of various things, including programming in Python, understanding prompting, other bits related to this, because I want to be able to look at working towards automation workflows and agents that can be used or created with the use of GPTs and AI. So you might want to pick up an area of interest at your end, and that area of interest would be looking at learning outcome four, specifically one topic that you would want to research and go into a bit more detail. The last one obviously is going to be focused on future. So we understand today what is coming. We know what was present, what is coming, and to a certain extent, we can see what is in development. But the idea here would be in the fifth learning outcome to identify what could be developments which are happening in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and how these developments are going to be helping increase, I would say, usability of computing and information related systems. So one part is, I know that this is happening, but if I say, can we look into the crystal ball and see what is it in for the technology in, say, 2035 or 2050? That is what we would need to look at in terms of future of computing. How do we see the future of computing evolving? Now, I know that Microsoft, Bill Gates predicted 20, 25 years back, that PC would not be the only primary device to access the internet. So we saw slowly and gradually laptops coming in, then we saw tablets coming in, smartphone coming in, and we did see lots of other devices like the internet browsing machine introduced by the Apple and some of the other companies, which are terminals. And they were also introduced because they then had the capability. When I say they, I mean the devices have the capability to be able to connect to the internet. Today, you can browse the internet using a smart TV. You can do it on a gaming console. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a PC, MacBook, laptop. And there are so many different types of devices which help you connect to the internet. So here, the last learning outcome would essentially focus on what is called the future of computing technology. So that is, we will look into, and as if we are going to peep into and see what the future holds in for us. So lots and lots of it reading, I would say, in this particular unit, because the more curious you are, the more I would say interested you are. You do more reading to be able to find out about the developments which are happening in this particular field. Just to give you one example, you look at astronomy in particular. NASA's Pathfinder, which has been on the Mars. You can follow Pathfinder, essentially, which is the vehicle which they have left in the Mars, and that is moving around. It has a lifespan of, I think, 30 years or so. Keeping in mind it's been built in a way wherein it is quite robust. It has been running on Mars for over 5 or 7 years right now, and it is able to send back photos or images of Mars and how the weather on Mars is, how bright Mars is, and things like that. And that is also one form of technology. If you're interested in astronomy, the
Yeah.
development happening in this area could be something that you would go into in that field. Now, if I relate to something closer home, we have wearable tech, which is Ray-Ban Meta glasses and smart glasses, which are now coming, where you're able to
Yeah.
look at those. You look at Vision, Apple Vision Pro, which is basically the advent of what is called, a next generation computing, and that would be essentially, when you look at the Apple Vision Pro, it is talking about spatial computing. That means you have the ability to be able to use holographic, technology to be able to project things on the wall. And I have a Vision Pro myself, and now obviously what I can do is I can open up multiple screens, I can watch a movie, I can send an email,
Yeah.
speech
That's like
recognition. Correct.
yeah, it's called the metaverse.
Metaverse is something which Facebook is trying to create. So there is now competition to Apple Vision Pro because Facebook is creating what is called a metaverse, which is like a three-dimensional universe, but something which is residing in the virtual space, like the internet, and that is what they are calling the metaverse. So spatial computing, you look at device computing, which is related to glasses, and Meta, which has introduced it with Ray-Ban, and those are the kind of technologies which are now coming in, which are going to blend digital content, physical space, and allow people to be able to interact with article objects, information, knowledge, and data. So we're going to be covering all this in this particular unit, and that's why I said it is one of my favorite topics, because I want to keep myself updated with lots of happenings and things which are happening in this particular area. And what we're going to do is today start looking at the understanding of trying to build an understanding of current and future emerging technologies in the digital world. So let me switch you over to a presentation, and we will look at that to begin with. So the aim of the unit is primarily to ensure that you have necessary knowledge and obviously an understanding of how to look at understanding emerging technologies which are going to be available in the future, but we are going to be entirely focused on computing in general, because computing and information technology in general, because this is related to the IT and the course that we are essentially studying. Now, when we look at a lot of areas wherein these kind of technologies are coming, I don't know whether you had the opportunity to go across to Mobile World Congress, which happens in Barcelona in Spain once a year. You have the Consumer Electronic Forum, or CES, which happens in the US. There is Wireless Japan in Japan. Now, these are specific conferences and events which typically happen wherein new technology or emerging technology is essentially showcased. So the Consumer Electronic Show, which typically happens in the US, I think in Las Vegas in the early months of January, typically showcases all technologies or new developments and new kind of trends which are coming in this particular field, whether it's related to the IT, telecommunications, automation, automobile, any sort of new technology is basically showcased. So when we do look at this particular aspect of emerging technologies, there is a very good article from which I've taken a screenshot. A couple of years back, 3D printing was very big. I don't know how many of us remember, but when printers came out with 3D printing and being able to print out, beautiful things and not just, I would say not only just objects, but lots of different types of things where today you can make a house using a 3D printer. You can, create some sort of, it has found applications of it in medicine, in engineering, in all sorts of different walks of life. And this, as you see, was a passing phase. So 3D printing was big a couple of years back. It's now been overshadowed or taken over by something else. And we look at spatial computing, which is the Vision Pro, the metaverse, and now it is being taken over by glasses which Meta has brought out, and these glasses allow you to have what is called wearable tech. So you have smartwatches, you have glasses, you have lots of different types of things which are emerging. Now, in the next 5 to 10 years, we would see further significant, development of technology. Drones is a big thing now. I don't know if you know that in certain parts of the world, in Dubai, in India, in other
Yeah.
places, in the US, you have drones now, Amazon drones now delivering, things home, deliveries happening through drones. And what I normally foresee is that in the next 3 to 4 years, there'll be a tremendous amount of increase in demand for pilots because there are drones being developed, flying cars being developed by lots of different companies, which allow 1, 2, 3, or 4 passengers to, take a ride. Some of these services are already now making their debut in countries like UAE and Dubai, in particular, where the air taxis are starting next year. There are trials currently happening, for these air taxis, and it will just be like you taking a taxi without having to worry about, traffic jams and things like that in big metropolis cities. So the topic, as I said, is quite vast. So here we could jump into any particular field like telecoms, telecommunication, automobile sector, energy, or in general gadgets, and you would find all sorts of technologies coming through in this particular space. So this article that I put up here, which is on LinkedIn, might be slightly old, but you would get a glimpse in terms of what are the various types of emerging technologies which have come up in the last, 10 years. I would not want to go beyond 10 years is because there's lots happening in 10 years. So what we see is that if you look at Murphy's Law, every 18 months, the speed at which the technology is able to compress billions and billions of transistors on a processor is now called Murphy's Law. And it means that it doubles up every 18 months. So you look at the Apple silicon chips, which are M3 and M4 chips, they have billions and billions or even trillions of transistors. Then these chips are capable of carrying out, billions of transactions per second or processing per second. And that is because of advancements in silicon technology, because they're able to squeeze in more transistors into the silicon, which allows more processing power as far as small devices are concerned. Who could have imagined when the iPhone came out in 2007? It was a phone which was allowing you to do multitasking. That means you could take a photograph, send an email, listen to music. But today, if you look at your phone, it is much more powerful or as powerful as your PC or your Mac that we use. And this means that it is able to do multiple transactions, and do multitasking, thereby allowing you to, I would say, work on different types of, I would say, applications together. This, if you look at envisioning a couple of years back or 10 years back, you wouldn't have imagined that this would be possible. But because the advancement in silicon is happening and processing power is increasing every 18 months or doubling every 18 months. This allows manufacturers, companies to basically screen in more applications which allow the process and the device to run more faster, thereby servicing more, requests in terms of processing data. You look at the internet. 20 years back, I had dial-up modem. When I bought my first PC 486 in 1994, I had a dial-up internet where the speeds were like 156 or 256, 128 or 256 kilobytes per second. But today you have 1 terabyte speeds which are available, on fiber and other things. And you look at how quickly you can download a full movie in about 1 or 2 minutes, as against if I was talking 5 years back, 10 years back, would have taken 2 days, 3 days to do so. So, in general, when we do talk about advancements in technology, how are they benefiting us? They are benefiting us because the speed at which we are able to download data and get hold of information is increasing. And that would mean that this allows certain daily or routine activities to become much more faster. Now, let's look at an example. I would say like 10, 15, 50, I would say 20 years back, if you were working in a big hospital as a doctor, one of the ways through which doctors could be called for an emergency was that they were made to carry what are called, you recall, pagers. So one-way messaging could be done. But today, they have access to phones or walkie-talkies, which they can use throughout a large facility, which allows faster turnaround time. That means they can be called at a couple of seconds notice, because it is critical and it is very important for them to turn around and come back quickly, because the patient might be in distress and might need, urgent attention. So in such cases, the advancements in technology, which was one-way messaging pager, has changed to today a mobile phone, two-way communication, and that has made things easier for humans as in general, when we are looking at saving lives, even in the hospital. So again, there's a bit of an article which I would suggest that you could go in and read. Let me see if I can bring this up, on your side to show you some of the articles, because again, as I mentioned to you, this unit is going to be more about a lot of reading, because you want to get hold of the latest, things which are happening in technology. So let me bring this up. And so this particular article that you see here, let me open both of them. The earlier one as well, which I had shown.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. There you go. So let me just share this with you. These three different articles are on three different websites. One of them is an article from Harvard Business Review, which talks about digital transformation is not about technology. It is much more than technology, because it also looks at advancements in terms of how companies use this information, how humans are using it, and how this information is being put to good use for increasing productivity and efficiency for the humankind or for mankind. So this is a good article for you to read. There's another one which talked about 50 emerging technology themes, obviously slightly old as an article, but it does have lots of different types of things apart from what we do see in terms of robotics and 5G or 6G or 7G spectrum, Wi-Fi. It does talk about, in general, give you a broader view of how there are developments happening in lots and lots of different fields, and these developments are essentially contributing towards, the increase in the adoption of newer technologies in day-to-day operations. And this was a good article because COVID essentially meant that a lot of us work from home, or essentially were at home. And in such cases, what tended to happen is that because we were in lockdowns and not allowed to move out, a lot of people started to do research online, access things online. So digital learning and how that is evolving in terms of consumers using information through the internet to make or advance make uses or let's put it this way, make advanced uses of technology is something that you can read in this particular website. And this has this particular report in the article that you would be able to look at, which talks about digital learning in the post-COVID economy. Now,
Yeah.
this would allow us to cover the first assessment criteria, which does talk about what are the benefits of, digital tools. These benefits are faster communication, increased productivity, more efficiency, quicker way of doing and turning around things, and obviously certain things which make, because of this use of technology and accessibility, there are now more services and more services accessible to people of all over the world. One such example of this I would give you is what are the benefits of digital tools? Elon Musk is obviously launching a lot of satellites in space and he wants to make Starlink, which is an internet, for example, accessible across the globe. Now, at any given point in time, there are 6 billion people which are connected to the internet across the globe. But there are areas of blind spots across the globe wherein there is no connectivity. So satellite internet is only one of the things which allows people to be able to connect to the internet or get access to the internet. So if I look at what are the developments which are happening on the satellite tech side of things, Facebook, Google, Elon Musk, SpaceX, they're all basically trying to make internet accessible to people across the globe and as many people as possible. So currently there are 6.5 billion people which can access the internet or have access to it. But with the use of Starlink and satellite technology, this accessibility can be increased to cover 8.5, 9 billion, which is the population of the Earth. Now, it's still not a reality, but again, the use of technology here can actually make this particular thing, possible. And that is what the benefits of using this technology are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Now, the second part that we want to understand is describe the evolution of various types of media or types of technologies which have come in and have made things better as far as, I would say, usage is concerned from a point of view of, some sort of applications, if I put it this way. Now, this particular part, which talks about describe the evolution of social media collaboration. So collaboration here would mean collaborative tools like Teams, Skype. Now, I don't know whether you've seen Microsoft a couple of weeks back announced that it is going to be now closing Skype as a service because it does not see Skype as a revenue generating application. There are lots of different types of alternatives available. And obviously, as companies look at standardizing across standard platforms and technology, they are looking at moving toward Teams, Zooms, Cisco WebEx, join me and a couple of other softwares which are more, stable, provide encryption, and obviously more security and other kind of features. So it is closing down its Skype service. But at one point in time, Skype calling and Skyping was one of the main activities when people were looking at connecting, through the internet. I don't know how many of you recall, but a couple of years back, when I say couple, I mean 10, 15 years back, ICQ used to be one of the messaging services. MSN Messenger used to be one of the messaging services, but now WhatsApp has become the de facto standard as far as messaging is concerned. There are various alternatives like Telegram and Botin and lots of other things. But because they are able to handle multiple file formats and it allows you to communicate and send things across in different formats, that is why these technologies have survived or they have evolved. But whereas if you look at technologies like ICQ or MSN Messenger have faded away because they did not have the advancements or they did not innovate enough in time to be able to, keep innovating with regards
Keep
to
up.
the requirements of the consumer.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you look at just the evolution in terms of evolution of how evolution of social media is happening, you will see there's a wide landscape in terms of how evolution has happened on social media, right? So if I
Yeah.
look at tracking it down from things like basic bulletin modes, which were used by the ARPANET and ZARPANET, which was the military installation and networks within the US, with the military at that point in time in the government, they used them as bulletin boards, business bulletin boards, or bulletin boards as they were called. But if you look at from there till 2015, 2016, you have lots and lots of different types of applications now available. Things like Facebook, Instagram, and Flickr, they came around in the 2004 and 5. YouTube, LinkedIn. But when you look at now in 2015, you have applications like TikTok, you have Flickr, you have Snapchat, you have lots of different types of applications which have become popular, and they are not the only platforms. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter are not the only platforms to be able to connect to the internet. Now, why has this evolution happened? That is the key bit that we want to understand. Some of these platforms came across as what are called simple communication platforms. They allowed just chatting and simple communication to happen between two users from point to point. But over the years, as the number of applications have increased, multitasking has happened, exchange of information in terms of different file formats is required to be done, like photographs, images, videos, music. There has been an emergence of different types of platforms in social media which allow this communication or interaction to essentially happen. Now, if I do talk about an application like, for example, Twitter, it did not allow me to send across videos. But now, if you look at the evolution of Twitter, it allows me to send pictures, attachments as files, as videos, and pictures. Everything is possible. But there's a restriction and limitation to what I can send on Twitter. But when I look at WhatsApp, when I look at Telegram, I can send a 30 megabyte file or a 100 megabyte video on WhatsApp, and it'll get transmitted as long as you're connected to the internet. And that peer-to-peer or file sharing, which is a technology available in WhatsApp, was not that was not available. One, and if it was not as advanced in some of the other messaging clients like MSN Messenger and things like that, and that is why they went away or they faded away. Now, when we look at with the rise of mobile phones and smart internet, we see with social media platforms like Instagram, which came about in 2010, Snapchat 2011, TikTok in 2016. They've gained global popularity because they are able to promote short form of video content in
Yeah.
these platforms. In the previous platforms, you had only the options to look at uploading large videos like YouTube and Vimeo and things like that. So these two platforms, YouTube and Vimeo, allowed you to upload content in videos, but did not have the capability to create YouTube, shorter videos. But today, if you look at YouTube, is also competing with some of these platforms by allowing creation of products like YouTube Shorts and things like that, because people are no longer interested in watching long programs or long videos. They want to watch a 3-second video.
Short videos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. And with the changes in technology on the telecommunication spectrum, it allows more and more interactivity and faster downloading of some of this content. And this has meant that a lot of these companies which were looking at innovating are now writing new algorithms and using data analytics to basically shape up consumer experience. Now, when I talk about collaboration, what I mean by collaboration is there are lots of different types of tools which help users collaborate. So you have Teams as a platform, you have Dropbox as a platform, you have Google Workspace as a platform. But this platform essentially works on what is called cloud computing. Anything which allows collaboration on the cloud. That means I'm in Manchester, you're based in London, you're able to communicate to each other seamlessly without any delay is because we're using a software like Zoom. And this software, which is allowing me to broadcast and transmit and record, is all doing it through the cloud-based system. And cloud computing comes into play because they this particular concept allows tools like Zoom, Teams, Google Workspace, Office 365 to actually, allow real-time collaboration to happen for documents, spreadsheets, presentations, and video, which can be done, with the use of internet and technology. And this collaborative working is strategic in the sense because it reduces, for example, time, travel, costs for companies when I look at it from a commercial perspective. And historically, if I go back 20 years, collaboration was limited to physical presence. So I could work with you only if you were present in the same room. But now
Yeah.
that collaboration meant was that you had to have meetings, memos, telephone calls, but primarily you had to be working together. But today collaboration can happen virtually. and this is possible because of developments in advancements in development in cloud computing. Similarly, we can talk about project management in terms of why is this an important field and how is this going to help in collaboration, is because traditional models that we talk about, which are rigid and rigid models, which did not allow any flexibility or adaptive technologies or methodologies to be adopted, today have allowed this to happen under project management. A simple example that I would give you is today, if you look at schools, buildings can be constructed quite quickly because part of the refurb and modeling essentially happens off-site, and everything is then shipped to a particular site to be assembled and put together in terms of making things work. In the past, China has worked on creating hotels in a particular day, a 200-room hotel in a particular day, because all the bits in terms of development, production has happened. I would say use the word off-site, and then they have been transported and shipped to a particular location, which then allows the assembly to happen. Now, all this involves increasing complexity, which is primarily done with the help of what is called project management software, agile technologies, waterfall model, crystal model, and this particular thing over the years, which the Japanese introduced, like the Scrum, Kanban, and lean mean manufacturing, which means you can assemble cars or create, if I give an example of, if you look at car manufacturing, car as is a product which involves lots of different types of products and smaller products to be integrated. So when a car is coming together on the production line, it probably comes together in about 5 to 7 minutes, from installation of seats, upholstery, electronics, tires, and lots of other things, and all of it is coming together just in time. So systems like just-in-time Kanban, Scrum have allowed the field of project management to be developed, and this has led to a crucial transformation, primarily happening because you can plan these tasks, but you can also simultaneously look at inventory allocation, and you can simultaneously do trackings of it in real time, which allows all these systems to move independently but also remain connected using the project management or project management methodologies. Now, evolution of technology can be seen in very many different ways. This is one such graph wherein I put this across, wherein I've shown that when we look at 60s, after the World War II, industrialization started to happen, and lots of things like we started to get automation to come into homes, things like washing machine, refrigerators, microwaves, dishwashers, vacuum cleaners. They started, as a scale in terms of when we start looking at automation and the building of technology. So these were the outcome of what is called the industrialization when it started to happen in a big way across the globe after World War II. Then slowly and gradually we see, this leading to digital form of, evolution. And that digital form of evolution started to happen in the early 1980s and 90s, wherein we started to see telecommunication, IT side of technologies essentially making a foray into our modern world. So we get to see typewriters in the 1990s replaced by a desktop computer, because computers were not as big as the room, but they became small and portable. And although they were not very powerful if I look at it comparing with today's computers, but it still meant that technology was then becoming accessible. Size was decreasing, processing power was increasing. And that is what we get to see in the digital evolution. Now, there are lots and lots of videos that you can watch which are available on the internet and on YouTube in particular to look at digital evolution. And this can be classified how it has helped businesses in general, to make use of these advancements to increase, I would put it this way, efficiency and productivity. And that is what I would suggest that you look at covering in this particular video, which is what is digital transformation. Now, this particular video is a 3-minute, 4-minute video that I would suggest that you watch. And it is a video which was, I think, a couple of years old now. but it tells you and gives you an aspect in terms of what is meant by digital transformation. So when I say a company is moving from paper to paperless office, this is an example of digital transformation, you know, because you're moving from using paper and being heavily dependent on paper to not using paper, and that would be one such part. If you look at Tesco's, just to give you an example, a couple of years back, they brought out, when I say a couple of years, maybe almost now 2 decades back, they brought out the Tesco Club Card program. But before that,
Yeah.
all the points and receipts and everything was done, manually. But when they came out with the Tesco Club Card and started using data analytics and technology to be able to do more analysis to find out how does the consumer shop, what does the consumer shop, what is the frequency at which they shop for these products, it helped Tesco's change its supply chain, inventory management, and the customer experience in general. When customers walked into the store, they had always the products which the customers wanted. None of the products which customers did not want were in the stores, and it allowed them to manage inventory. Now, this process of managing data and reading into customer insights through the Tesco Club Card program is an example of digital transformation for Tesco, because they've used technology to be able to bring advancements in, to be able to track data, and that data can help in predictive analysis, in data analytics, and obviously helping them procure the right set of goods and services which are required by consumers in particular to buy those products. And that is what I would say is digital transformation. So there are lots and lots of examples that you can pick out. Things like digital transformation also allows personalization. It allows you to increase efficiency. It allows you to build customer loyalty, and also the use of technology to do and start this process of transformation, like banking. Give you a simple example. Banks underwent a big transformation from being brick and mortar models that you had to go to the bank, draw money from the ATM. But today, with the help of mobile phone apps, online banking, you're able to see a total transformation. Very few customers even visit the store branches to be able to do transactions, where they are able to do online banking or app banking through the app. And that is an example of, again, usage of lots of different technology. Near field communication technology, if you're using the phone, World Wide Web, which is the internet, looking at software as a service, which is where they are able to deploy these applications over the internet, which customers can use safely, and in general do banking online as against coming to the store. So these few slides typically talk about a lot of different types of technology which have come about, and they would essentially be looking at describing or helping you understand what has been the evolution of technology over the years.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now,
Interesting unit.
yeah. And if you look at the merit and distinction tasks, it normally talks about benefits of technology. So in the first task, we talked about what are the benefits of digital tools. But here, what we have to do is to pick up a particular example to talk about what are the benefits in a range of industries. That means you might pick out something which is of interest. You might pick up telecommunication, you pick up automation, you pick up automobile, you pick up energy, green energy, things like that. But you have to look at specific technologies which are being used in that industry to be able to help in obviously making things better, and that would be the merit criteria. The
Yeah.
distinction criteria is going to be looking at, for example, talking more into details of the importance of planning and how companies look at deploying technologies. Now, if I was to say that Amazon has now, I don't know whether you recall, but Amazon has created what is called Amazon Go stores in London, in New York, and some of the places it is still piloting. In those stores, there is no shop assistant, there is nobody at the till. You just walk in, you scan your card, you walk in, and the technology taking, let me rephrase, location-based technology is being used to track what the customer is actually buying. You don't even need to take out the wallet and press it against the machine to say this is what I bought. What will happen is you have signed into your Amazon account, you walk into the store through facial recognition. It recognizes this is the customer, has an existing Amazon account. You don't even need to show your wallet. You go in, you collect a frappe, you buy a sandwich, and you essentially buy a fruit, and then you walk out of the store. And a couple of seconds down the line, you have an email coming to your phone that this is what you bought, that's the total, and the phone and the technology actually charges that to your debits that to your debit card or your bank account. Now,
Yeah.
what is the importance of planning here? So if Amazon were looking at developing this, that means they would have been planning for this technology about 5, 6 years back in order to see how it's going to work. So what are the various type of planning techniques they would have used? Things like facial recognition, near field communication technology, looking at the use of automated payments, looking at location-based services, and in general, lots and lots of other technologies which they would have started to analyze and take feedback on, which could be used together to create an application like Amazon Go stores. And that would then allow them to create futuristic stores for consumers to be able to shop. So if you look at the importance of planning, how would have they been doing this? They would have started to plan that these are the format of stores that we need to introduce a couple of years back, started to investigate about what technologies are going to be used, how this is going to be put into place, what will it require, maybe manpower, engineers, technology. They would have done all this investigation a couple of years back, and then slowly and gradually they're going to start positioning it, which would allow them to create these stores, which would basically be unmanned, unmonitored, but at the same time act as great places or outlets for them to generate sales for their products. Now, in the distinction criteria, you have to talk about some of these planning part of it, how companies look at, deploying something in the future. They might see this technology has come out, there might be some studies on it, they might do a bit of research, pilot, but at some point in time, they would look at deploying this within the organization. And that would involve testing, piloting, training, and in such cases, procuring. And once that process is started, is underway, that would show the planning part of it and why do they think they need to deploy it. Because if they don't deploy it, they don't use it, they'll get left out, and that would mean the competition would catch up with them. And that could mean that they start losing more revenue and sales as compared to its competitors in the market. So here you have to end up taking what is called a real life, a real world example to explain why a modern business would need to look at, adopting and looking at planning for the future. And when they do so, how do they do it? What technology and platforms they look at? How do they test it? How do they train it? And when do they deploy it is something that you will need to give an example to achieve distinction. Is that okay?
Mm.
Any questions on this so far today?
Actually, I'm not really familiar with what you have mentioned about the Amazon. Like,
I
I
will
haven't
show you. Give
really,
me one
yeah,
second. I will show you what I mean by that. So essentially, Amazon Go is a set of stores which Amazon is creating that would allow users to go into their stores and obviously, shop for anything that they want to shop. And these stores essentially have no attendance or no people manning these stores. And these stores
yeah,
essentially are cashierless. That means they have no cashier. They're convenience stores. People just walk in, buy the product, and go out. But they get a billing. They stock in inventory. Take happens automatically. You get an email. You get debited. All those things are happening on its own. Now, how is this happening? It is using a number of technological advancements to be able to create some of these stores which are going to offer a seamless customer experience. You walk into a store, you don't need to take out your phone, credit card, debit card. You walk in, it scans your face, and it knows that this is a person coming into the store, and somebody who has an Amazon account would essentially be able to do that. And then they walk in, they collect or buy anything from that store. That would, and when they walk out, it automatically bills them. So it uses a lot of different types of technologies to be able to make this possible. It includes
yeah,
facial recognition, location-based services. It includes e-commerce, near-field communication. lots of other services which are advancements in technology. So you could look at reading about this in a bit more detail by typing what is called Amazon Go, and it will give you details of what these stores and they look like and why they have been created.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've been
Yeah.
positioned what is called the future of shopping. You have nobody to bother you,
Yeah.
nobody to pester you. To when you walk into the store, you don't want any salesperson to come into you to say, "Can you
No
want?"
queues.
So this is just seamless shopping that you would want to do on your own without having to worry about payments, people bothering you, or coming in telling you that can I help you in any way or things like that. So automated
Yeah.
shopping would essentially happen, and the concept of the stores is a revolutionary shopping experience or a seamless shopping experience wherein you are in control what you want to shop, when you want to shop, and how you want to shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
Good stuff. So that brings us to the end of today's session and the learning outcome that we've covered. So this would be a bit of reading that I would suggest that you need to do. If I show you and take you back to the slide, there are a couple of articles that I put into references and some articles that I put in plenary slide, which is to say, can you go ahead and watch these videos? Some of them are on BBC Bite Size, and they would essentially be useful for you to look at understanding some of the discussion topics that we've done, specifically in relation to evolution of different types of media and what are the benefits of digital tool, which you can actually see from these, particular links which I've given in the plenary site. So if
Yeah, I
you go ahead
see.
and read this, it'll make the discussion that we've done today on the learning outcome one crystal clear. And then I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. to be able to start discussing learning outcome two.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman.
Thank you, Shaima.
Thank you,
Take
Mr.
care.
Rahman, very much.
Bye. And I'll send you a copy of this recording just after this session.
Okay.